Welcome to the Nothing to Prove, Only to Share podcast. This week's guest is...
Taylor James Donskey.
You got it. But then
You got nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. Okay, welcome to the Nothing to Prove, Only to Share podcast.
Oh, thank you very much.
Taylor James Donskey.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Cool. We've been talking about photography stuff, and I kind of want to stay there because I'm curious.
Yeah,
because I was a wedding photographer for a long time, and I learned to hate it because the
It's
industry
tough.
is a bummer.
Yeah.
But I also kind of wanted to get into concert photography. So you were saying that the way you did it was just
I just asked
you
people.
were like, hey,
yeah,
I'm gonna come with a camera.
Yeah, I said, put me on the list. I'll come shoot your show. And it was all film. I've strictly shot film almost my entire film career, I suppose. And the entire time I did that, it was a wonderful time for film because it was just before everyone started jumping onto it. And as it so happened, I just ended up getting in tight with a lot of the film community in the Twin Cities. So I found myself with rolls and rolls of film, just expired, 2002, 2003. Expired rolls of film, and I was just shooting shows and getting some good shots and biking to 3 shows a night, and then a couple weeks later it'd all get developed, and then I would upload it to Facebook. That was actually that was it. I would upload it to Facebook and tag everybody.
Oh my god!
And that was the
back in the day.
That was the way it worked. And then Instagram came along, and I was like, oh dang, I have all this huge backlog.
Yeah.
And I downloaded an app that would auto post for me.
Oh my god,
So
genius! I need.
Yeah.
Do you know the app name?
It was called.
Why have I never thought of that?
Yeah, it was called.
Obviously, that's a thing.
I think it was called Grambler because it worked for Tumblr and it worked for Instagram. I'm not sure if it's still in existence. I still have the app on an old computer, so I'll go check it. But yeah, so I posted. I think I posted every day for many years, which was fantastic. It was awesome. I just didn't have to think about it.
Dude, so genius.
Yeah, it was a good move. So yeah, if you
I
can,
of course knew that existed.
yeah, I mean, I think it's if you want to stay the execution of social media, fatigue and that kind of stuff, putting scheduling or batching your posts, making sure they're all built and made, and then batching scheduling the release of them.
Yeah,
is just a wonderful.
Do you ever do that with your music and stuff?
That is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my last release was very much like that.
Cool.
Got all the content, got all the images and all the music ready and artwork and shows and posters and what have you, and kind of sat down and put together a rough outline, keeping it flexible. So if you have something that pops up, you can be a little bit more flexible in the moment.
Sure.
Make that happen. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, give us a little backstory, a little intro. What are you up to? What do you do?
Sure. My name's Taylor James Donskey. I'm a musician in the Twin Cities. I do many things. I call myself a music person, which means that I do as much as I possibly can in music. I'm a teacher. I work at Twin Town Guitars, and I work with over 34 students a week. I'm also 34 students a week. I'm going there later today. I'm also a bass player. I'm also a songwriter and guitar player. I also host and organize the Twin Cities Songwriter Rounds, which happens at the White Squirrel and at the 331, both twice monthly, so 4 times in total. And I look for opportunities for songwriters all across the metro area. And what else do I do? I just enjoy music quite ardently.
Yeah, when did it start for you? Have you always been into it?
When I was a kid, I had a lot of love for a lot of the goofier sides of music. I was a Monty Python household, and a lot of that music was very funny to me. And Weird Al Yankovic was the impetus for a lot of that stuff. And so listening to a lot of his early records, it was sort of a catch-all because a lot of my friends liked it. And so I was like, oh, if I like this is great. Everyone likes it. So it was me following a trend, but I've followed his career for, years now. And it's just been wonderful to see where he's gone and all the records he's made. And just the idea of pastiche and using using parody to elevate. I guess is elevate the right word? I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But to just sort of elevate like form and like being like, oh yeah, like he does a lot of original music that is based on other styles. So he's got a couple great tunes like Dare to Be Stupid is one of his like 80s like art rock. It's like a Devo like pastiche. And like that's a great tune. He also has a tune. One of my favorite tunes of his, which I actually used as a reference for one of my recordings, was The Good Old Days, which is like a James Taylor like ripoff.
Okay.
So it's like very pretty guitars, like bongos, and like really like there's a triangle in there. It's like really like nice and light, and the lyrics are about like a kid who's a serial killer.
Dude, I love Weird Al.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He just has like such a nice little niche there that he's kind of built for himself.
Yeah.
And what can I say? I'm jealous.
Honestly.
Yeah.
When I was in like, I want to say 5th grade, I had this big project to do. And my whole project was based on Weird Al trivia.
Oh my
like
God,
facts
fantastic.
about him.
Oh man, can you give me some Weird Al facts?
Dude, I don't even know.
You can't remember?
I was just really
Did you have
diehard when I was in 5th grade. And then
Yeah.
like I listened to just eat it for the rest of my life
Yeah.
and nothing else pretty much.
Did you have the peanut trivia in it? Where he was a kid, he like was like doing a trick with a friend, and he was like throwing peanuts in the air and catching them, and one of them actually like went down his trachea into his lungs.
Jesus.
And so like they took him to the doctor, and he was like, "Yeah, there's a peanut in my lungs," and they were like, "We can't get it out. You just have to like wait until it dissolves." And I was like, that is very strange and like very on brand for him to like. That's his like first bit of trivia, and I remember hearing that and being like, "Yeah, I'm into this. This is the weird. This is the weird I'm here for."
He earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was the first like record I ever bought was my mom gave me like $20 to go buy a CD at Best Buy, and it turns out that the tape of Even Worse, Weird Al's Even Worse, was cheaper, so I bought that and saved like the extra like $7 to like buy some candy. So yeah, I had a tape of Even Worse, and this was like 2001 maybe, maybe even before, maybe like 1999 or something. I don't know. Yeah, so Weird Al, he was kind of the beginning, and then I quickly got into a lot of like the kind of like Green Day, Blink-182 controversies / like rivalries that weren't really real at the time, but was like very real to me.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, and I had a couple friends in like middle school who reluctantly let me be in their band, and as part of it, they like burned me a bunch of CDs. And I was like just jonesing for those CDs because I couldn't. They like were downloading them on like Kazaa and Napster and like burning them to CD, and that was like fantastic. It was like amazing. I didn't know you could do that, and so they were handing me these CDs full of like Bad Religion and like System of a Down, Rage Against the Machine, like the Ramones, and what else was it, like Black Sabbath, like everything that you could possibly want. And they were huge because I would listen to them like every morning. Like I would just like have those CDs and I would sit there before school started, you know, getting there a little early, just sitting there. I didn't even do my homework. I just sat there. I just was like listening to music. And I became that kid that just like had music pumping in my ears constantly. And so eventually I got an MP3 player. We were too cheap to get an iPod. So we had this like off-brand MP3 player, and it had a little EQ curve on it that you could manipulate, and I just turned every band all the way up, and it was the loudest everything could go, and I just sat in the hallways just slamming System of a Down straight into my ears, and I became that kid that like everyone was like, he's very weird, don't talk to him. And I went to a very small school, so that was like very meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, no one
Dude,
talked to me. It was like, I am alone in here, which, you know, worked out in my favor, I think, as time went on. But at the time, it was pretty tough.
Yeah. Well, where are you from?
I'm originally from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Okay. Yeah, I'm down there, little old river town.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm also from a very small town, very small school.
Where's that?
Way up north. How many people did you graduate with?
I had 86 kids in my class. Dude. Yeah, 368 kids in the school.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so everyone knew each other. It was all very close and
like derogatory.
You know, yeah, there we go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to say the very least.
Yeah, fair. So when did you make your way to Minnesota then?
I got up here for university just after high school, and immediately became the bass player for a lot of the groups at the university's jazz program.
Cool.
Which was just a glorious time. They really needed folks, and I happened to just be the one that had a bass, and so I was playing quite a bit. And I originally got in playing trumpet, and found it was much more lucrative to be a bass player. So I just moved over there. And that's where I found myself meeting a lot of the friends I still have today, a lot of the people I work with today, connecting with a lot of the people in the scene and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. When did you drop your first like TJD record?
The first TJD record, that's a fun question. My first TJD record came out in January of 2020, which, fun story, really great time. Super chill, very awesome.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, we started recording in like late 2017, and then it kind of ambled its way along, and it came to fruition in late 2019, and I found myself going, wow, let's get it out there, let's get a tour going, let's get everything kind of built, and released it 2020. Played another show in March, or was it March of 2020, or was it? And it was February. It was like late February 2020. And, I had some stuff booked for the spring and all that stuff. And sure enough, it all, falls apart, which was a bummer. But I will say is that that album technically was not my first solo outing.
Okay.
I have another solo outing underneath a different name that I did a couple years prior. It goes under the pseudonym Darling Lily Gave, which I've kind of used as like a repository now for like a bunch of electronic projects and just kind of off the cuff kind of recording stuff. But it was this kind of passion project that became kind of its own thing, and it's like a kind of a double EP.
Okay, cool.
Which is fun. One's very loud and brash, and one's very quiet and soft. And it was me exploring some things I really wanted to do. I really wanted to sound like Sufjan Stevens. I really wanted to. I deny it all those years ago, but I really wanted to be Eddie Vedder with the ukulele songs, because ukulele was like a very important part of my musical upbringing and very important part of my musical independence.
Sure.
And so I really wanted to do that. And then I also really wanted to be Neutral Milk Hotel. So I just went down those paths and found those sounds and looked for all that fantastic stuff.
Cool. You dropped a record this year.
I did, yes.
Joyride. Want to talk about like the writing process and the recording process of that?
Yeah.
And releasing too.
Yeah, that was a glorious time. It was a lot of fun putting together that record. The music came through during lockdown. I went through a lot of writing phases during lockdown. And then one of my favorite styles of music that was always tough to access as a younger kid was like dad rock and classic rock, because that was the music of my father, the music of my parents and aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And so I didn't want that. I didn't want that as a kid, but I did like it. Yeah. I did enjoy it. And so I always tell a story on stage where I say that I used to hate Tom Petty. I used to just thought Tom Petty was the worst. All he did was take a few chords and write some words and made like millions of dollars. Like what? Like that's so lame, And then one day I woke up and just said like, oh, I'm just jealous of Tom Petty. Yeah. He just took 4 chords and like some beautiful lyrics and made some of the most some of the most recognizable American music in the world. And that was an incredible time to just explore that during lockdown. And so I found myself writing a lot of like very high energy kind of rock music and following some of the influences that I had liked. So like the Beatles and Tom Petty, of course, and Elvis Costello, yeah, just following that path. And it was just a real fun time.
Cool.
So we went through the recording process with Jason McGlone.
Love that.
Love Jason McGlone.
Okay.
We know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great. He's fantastic. He's one of the best, working with a lot of the greats. He's got a lot of the correct equipment for that style of music. So he's very versed in getting those right guitars, getting those right drums, making them sound ace. Mm-hmm. We went into the studio once during 2021 and once during 2022 and knocked them all out straight through with long studio days. Then let the mixing process sort of happen organically, or just as it did. We didn't move too fast with it. Really spent some time with it, found the right tones, spent some time with it, which was something that I hadn't really done before. A lot of the records previous were very like, let's get this out, let's get this moving. And since we had the time, I said, let's just wait, let's just relax and make it, let it take time, let it take time. That was just a really great way to go about it. And then the finished product was just this rockin' speed demon of a record, and came out with that. And now we've been playing that every once in a while and working on the next thing.
Cool. Mm-hmm. In the waiting so long mm-hmm. to release it, did your feelings about the music change?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a curve.
Right.
There's a curve between the beginning and the end. And there's usually one or two for me, but I believe for others as well. And the initial up curve is always wonderful and you're fantastic. And there's always this little down curve right afterwards that can really stifle learning and can stifle work and that sort of thing. And that stifling is something that's part of the process and is definitely worth almost celebrating now. Once you understand what it means, it's just going to be part of your process, is that you're going to go up and then you're going to go down. And that down process is a good time to break, good time to give yourself some space from the thing you're working on. That's my favorite part now, is realizing, oh yeah, I hate this.
Dude,
you just hate something that you've made just for a little bit because you've just heard it so many times. It's coming out of those speakers at you every second, and you have no recourse to kind of sit back and let yourself be. But that hate, or that, I guess hate is of course a strong word, but the displeasure in hearing the same your voice over and over again kind of bubbles over into this wonderful kind of avoidance.
Yeah.
And a lot of people find shame or they feel very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, it's hard to sit in that. For sure.
Yeah, and learning how to find that and sit in it and be accepting of it, and then going, maybe I should just sit in the woods for a second and let everything be, and then come back with fresh ears. Being able to recognize that has been very good, and that is part of that process. So yes, it did. The music did change, but when I came back to this record in particular, I kind of felt that it was coming back to old friends, which was really wonderful. They didn't change all too much. Yeah. They were just kind of oh yeah, cool. You're still doing that thing. Awesome, love that, great.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long does that trough period last usually for you?
That's a great question. I suppose it's changed every time I've gone through it. It's shorter, or it appears shorter to me now, because I'm ready for it, or it's I'm expecting it. And so in the first record, the ick maybe was so strong.
Yeah.
I had heard, and it's actually kind of interesting because it really informed how that those two EPs kind of were created, is that the first record was the quiet one. And I had gone through it and I just really had a terrible time listening to it, hearing my own voice. And so the ick was very, very strong. And because of that, I actually had a bunch of louder acoustic rock tunes, the Neutral Milk styled stuff. And I was let's record that. I feel so bad about this other thing we did. I would like to record this now to make a, I don't know, cleanse the palate,
right.
Which worked to my benefit eventually, but at the time was like such a left turn. It was like you go from this one thing to another thing, and that was, you know, a bit of a shock to the folks I was working with, but it worked out so well in the long run because all of a sudden I'm sitting here with these things that are just polar opposites of each other, but represent, you know, this very, very important part of my life, this very passionate young part of my life that felt very good to get it out there.
Yeah, that's cool. I love when like the unexpected turn just like works out in your favor.
Yes. So that
That's
period,
very cool.
that period of ick was good, and I didn't recognize that it was good until much, much later. But the time it takes to go through it, I think definitely changes, and definitely changes based on like how you view it. Now I'm like, okay, it's time to feel it, and then you just feel it. You don't worry about it as much. You just go, okay, cool. We're just gonna feel like
It's
junk.
there, yeah.
Yeah, it's there. You go get some ice cream.
It's just a part of it.
Take a walk. Maybe try to go up to Duluth and sit in the lake for a little bit. I don't know.
And I suppose the answer is just to like do it a bunch.
Yeah.
So then you're more aware of.
Find yourself in those places over and over again, and you'll find yourself becoming more comfortable with it. And I work with a lot of like newer songwriters, and I see a lot of like younger folks through teaching and also through the songwriter rounds. And I see people going through that like in real time.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting to see just from an outside perspective, because there's no way I can like give them that experience.
Right.
I wish
There
I
are
could.
no words.
Man, I
It's
wish,
just like,
honestly, as a teacher, I like wish I could just like put a chip in my brain and be like, all right, take this home.
Take this home with
Some,
you.
some homework.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even, hopefully it wouldn't be homework. It's just like, now you know it. That would be fantastic. But no, it's people have to go through it to like learn it, which is the kind of the toughest part. And I complain so much about it myself, just, going through it. So that time frame is good to recognize the ick.
Yeah.
It's so real.
Like I'm kind of going through that right now. Like I'm working on a record, and we just did like the 12th track, and now I think me and the buddy I'm working on it with are just like,
this sucks.
let's not talk. Like we're gonna put this under the bed.
It is funny. I'm working with someone right now, and we kind of have gone through like short periods of that, where it's like we'll go through a recording process, and then we'll go through a mixing process. And in the mixing process, we go, oh man, we missed so much. And it's like kind of unspoken, but then it's, it feels weird.
Right.
And then you let it sit for a little bit, and then we come back the next week and it's all chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that means that like that whole experience has kind of gotten shorter and shorter as time goes on. The feeling of the ick and stuff like that. So I can only hope the same for you.
It's again not the first rodeo.
Yeah.
Of the ick. Probably maybe not like the 5th rodeo.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Not the first one.
Not the first one for sure.
maybe not the second either. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in the middle there. Yeah, I think, as far as rodeos go, you got to go to a few. I've actually been to many rodeos, not figuratively, like literally been to many rodeos. And the more you go to them, the more you just enjoy leaving them. Animal abuse is kind of awful. Yeah.
Paid money for this.
Yeah. But yeah, that period shortens up as I think time goes on.
Cool. Yeah. I really want to hear about the songwriter rounds.
Yeah.
So you did that?
I did that.
Cool.
Yes, I can lay claim to the Minneapolis and St. Paul / Twin Cities Songwriter Rounds.
Cool.
Available on Instagram only. We have a Facebook page now, but I have no, I don't update it or anything like that. It's just so I can tag it.
Understood.
Yeah, the Minneapolis St. Paul Songwriter Rounds. This was an idea that isn't my own, really, truly. The format itself is this wonderful format that is just a constant in a lot of the songwriter scenes in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. You'll see it in a lot of like bigger markets, like LA and New York and stuff like that. That format allows people like an opportunity to experience staged music from a like equal opportunity perspective.
Yeah.
The traditional like 3-band bill, like first, second, last, like inherently has a hierarchy to it, which
totally, yeah,
is built into it and is, fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But at a certain point, it is very tired and also reflects like kind of a negative part of like, it reflects a negative part of all of society.
Yeah.
Like that built-in hierarchy plays on people's insecurities, plays on people's like sense of like desire and want, and that is what fuels like a lot of terrible things, you know. And not that those emotions from people individually are like bad, but it's just like as a group it becomes kind of poisonous and that sort of thing. So I'm not trying to drag any of this stuff, by the way. It's just one of those things that I've just recognized over my years of seeing all these things. You know, you play if you play the closing set, some people are like, oh, a closing set. And it's like, that's great. You go on at like 12:30.
Right. Yeah. And nobody's left.
And no one's there. And like everyone's hammered or like, and it's not very fun. So the songwriter rounds, after seeing many of them in Nashville myself, I found myself going, why is this not like everywhere?
Will you talk about the format? Because I actually don't know myself how it goes.
Yeah. The format of a songwriter rounds places 4, sometimes 5 songwriters on the stage at the same time. They're all seated with microphones, their guitars or instruments, whatever they choose to bring. They're allowed to bring, pianos, and we've had dulcimers, and we just had a harp, like a full orchestral harp.
Cool.
That format has all those folks on stage at the same time. I act as host, and down the line we go. Ask a question of the first songwriter, ask them to play a song. Then the next songwriter, little story, little song. Next songwriter, little story, little song, and we go around and around.
Wow.
So you go through all 5 of them, start it all over again.
What's the question?
The questions usually vary. I usually use a set number of questions. The first one is you actually asked me this question. Where did it start?
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Where did it start for you, and what pushed you forward afterwards? Usually, like, what was your first introduction to music, and what inspired you to continue? So what songwriters or people in your life made that happen?
Dude, I don't know why I've never been to one. I think about it all the time, and especially because like Emmy and Sammy are around, always love them. Eventually.
Yeah,
I'll make it
come on
out.
out. We're doing one.
Sounds beautiful.
We're doing one tonight.
What we're at?
331 Club, 9:30.
Good old 331.
Good old 331.
I accidentally went to one. I was hanging out with a friend, and she hadn't been to any Northeast bars. And I was like, well, let's go to 331. 331 is like the best spot.
That is the one to start at.
Hanging out, and it's like, oh, it's the singer-songwriter rounds. I've never been to one of these, but this is cool.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that format is fantastic because it does place everybody kind of on the same stage at the same time. And you're open to questions the entire time. So even if it's not your turn to play, you could still talk to someone or hear their thoughts on some style of songwriting and find yourself asking them questions. And we've had some that get very, very involved, and people are, following trends and following like themes. Like our last one went to many different themes. We had like a grandparents theme. So everyone had a song about grandparents or like parents and like that sort of style of music. And sometimes we've had actual styles of music that have turned into like whole songwriter rounds being played, people playing their songs in different styles.
Cool.
Which has been very fun too. Usually songwriters are, doing the whole strumming thing, but we had some folks get kind of funky with it, which is kind of funny. And yeah, so we've gone through about 2 years now of these, and it's been really an ebullient ride.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you have other people host sometimes too, right?
That is correct, yes.
So do you give them questions to ask, or do they have their own?
When folks are asked to host, they're basically given free reign. Cool. I usually ask them to put together their own questions based on what they see during a round. So I have them come in and watch a songwriter round where someone else is hosting, and then have them, kind of base it on that.
Cool.
So there is a small amount of continuity, but they basically get to do whatever they want.
Sweet. Yeah. That sounds very cool.
Do you want to do one?
No.
Oh, come on. You're doing it right now.
Eventually, someday.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, all you got to do is have like 5 questions. Yeah.
Oh, do I want to host? Hell yeah, I'm a host.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Do I want to be on the stage?
Oh, you don't want to play? Well, all you need is 6 songs. Barely that, really. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that'd be fun. I love that whole concept.
Yeah.
I would love to see, because Emmy hosts sometimes.
Emmy has hosted,
I would love.
Yeah, absolutely.
To listen to, cool.
Let's talk later. We'll get you on the one. We'll get you on the rounds.
Dude, dude, that's sick. Okay, cool. Anything else before I
Well, so I've got a question out of left field.
Yeah.
One of my spies has informed me that you used to make chocolate as a hobby.
Oh yeah. I do from time to time make some chocolates.
How did that happen?
You know, pandemic times, lockdown, everyone got good at baking bread and getting better at their instruments.
Yeah, the sourdough.
I watched a roommate of mine at the time make these Brazilian styled bonbons. Ganache. It was a Brazilian styled ganache for like, you just ate it. And they did a really bad job. And I said, I could do that better. And so I tried it myself and I actually did it as bad as they did the first time. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, but I enjoyed the process of like, you know, getting the ingredients and putting them all together and finding myself going, maybe I should just take a chocolate course or like learn how to become a chocolatier. At first I wanted to like make chocolate. Turns out you have to be incredibly rich and have a boat, which I have neither of those things. So I found myself going online to become a chocolatier, which is very different. Chocolate making involves like knowing a guy in like Ghana and like meeting him in Ghana and being like, these are the trees where my chocolate will come from. I did not have that opportunity to do that. And so I found myself taking an online course in chocolatiering, learning how to temper chocolate, learning how to create centers and like enrobe things in chocolate, which is the traditional and correct term.
Shut up.
Academia,
chocolate academia. So on occasion, I'll whatever you want, I'll put it inside chocolate. Let me know.
It's awesome.
Yep. I've had people ask me to enrobe their partners in chocolate, which I have said very much no to. That is a very hot and very sticky, very unpleasant experience. As someone who's been like his hands have been covered in chocolate, you don't want that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, to bring it back.
Great left field question from the gallery.
I felt like, we needed something like that.
Absolutely.
Tell us how you define success.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. How do you define success? I think it is when you are recognized in a community that you have been a part of for a long time, and they come to you with questions, they come to you with answers, they come to you with just their hopes and dreams. Mm-hmm. And they share them freely, they share them willingly, they share them with maybe a tinge of want and like hoping that those hopes and dreams can become something or those questions can be answered. Mm-hmm. But they know that you're not the end all be all. They recognize you as a human being, not as like a Google or a AI. They recognize you as like a person who can do a thing. Yeah. And that's something I've always wanted to be personally, as someone who's like available for people. I'm a teacher. Yeah. That's like the thing I've done the most in my life is teach, besides play music. But those are all kind of wrapped up, and being able to like provide some sort of guidance, or really just like the being able to provide people with a sense of direction. Yeah. Giving them a pathway, mm-hmm. or showing them a outline of what they could do. And then saying, you could go down this path if you'd like, or you could do it yourself. That is my metric for a lot of that stuff, is like, do people follow me? No? Okay, great. That's fine. Because at the end of the day, everyone's doing it themselves. Yeah. And that's my favorite thing, is that if you are truly doing it yourself, you'll have the most fun. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Dude, a big theme for the last, like these first 3 episodes have been community over competition. I love the idea of like, mm-hmm. Helping each other out. That keeps coming up, and I love that.
I think that's sort of a secret weapon in this part of the world as well. We like live in this, they call it flyover country, and that's like a gross understatement and terrible. And I even dislike myself for saying it out loud and perpetuating the fact that the word exists. But because of that, a lot of people navigate to larger markets. And so they find themselves in Nashville, LA, mm-hmm. New York, or even further afield. Those markets are so saturated with people. Like I heard of like a friend of mine in New York. She had to like cancel a bunch of gigs because of a radius clause. Yep. And so she like lost 3 gigs because one venue was like, oh yeah, we have this radius clause. Those other gigs can't happen. And it's like, wow, that is just brutal. And what I find here is that in this part of the world, we don't have a lot of upward mobility, which for some people find, very difficult to deal with. Mm-hmm. The lack of upward mobility can stifle you, but we have a lot of outward mobility. You can interface with so many people, and they're all more or less in the same world as you. You're all experiencing the same thing. That is sort of the secret weapon, is if you can be part of that community and like really make that happen, all of a sudden everybody goes up. Yeah. What do they say? All boats rise kind of thing.
Cool.
That feeling is really great. So I've sort of leaned into that as a way of finding success, is like, can I interface with as many people as possible? Can I offer them the most amount of value for their time? Can I give them good products? Can we work together to create good music, good things? That's been my favorite part so far. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that you want to plug? Shows?
Come on out to the Twin Cities Songwriter Rounds every second and fourth Sunday of the month, every second and fourth Thursday of the month, every second and fourth Sunday of the month at the White Squirrel in St. Paul, and come out every second and fourth Thursday of the month to the 331 Club. You can find us on Instagram at Twin Cities Songwriter Rounds.
That was very it felt like an advertisement.
Yes. Do you want a podcast announcement? Because I can give you one real quick. Yeah,
dude,
throw it on the current real quick.
I desperately wanted to be like a radio, like not DJ, but a radio identity guy.
Yeah.
So like we had like a rock station in our town called 95.7 The Rock. And the guy who did the voice had like this deep voice.
That sounded like Max Green.
And Max Green. Oh yeah, we can get you. I can get you that. And he had this deep voice, and his name was Johnny Justice. And he was and he lived in like North Dakota, and did like that kind of identity, or I can't remember what they're called, but idents for radios. Okay. He was like 95.7 The Rock. Yeah. That kind of stuff. And I was obsessed with that, and I love that. So I've it's like part of my, I love voices and I love doing accents and stuff like that. And so part of my getting into music was like using those voices to kind of create funny things. So
love that.
Yeah. So.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
This was great.
This was great. Thanks for having me.
You got nothing